Maybe he needs to pull out a genie from a bottle to win.
I mean, the flute is kind of lamp-like. It looks like our 2 runners are off here.
Only a big 20 in Uncle's house right now. Not really a good start.
Yeah, the rupees aren't too bad because they still go towards buying things in town, but definitely not the funnest thing to find right away.
What would you want to see as the first weapon?
The weapon I like is bombs. An item past that is boots. Those are probably my 2 favorite. But
Well, the bow is a really good find. They found the D very early.
yep, bow definitely a very good weapon. Just very useful. It's 100% required in the seed. But now, because they already go through escape, it just means that if they want a very safe and basic play, they can just go ahead and clear Eastern Palace. Might be a pennant, but even still, having that is good. Although without the lantern, it's not as appealing because the Armos part of Eastern is locked behind a dark room. Can be really tempting to go there early if you have the bow as like more of a brain dead decision, but there's no guarantee that what you're looking for will actually be there.
That is true. They also found the red meringue in the escape, and I believe Trenter got a bomb drop, so that was a good thing for him.
Yeah, bombs are definitely very handy. The prize pack rotates every time a game is generated, but if you can, you want to passively farm for bombs. I would say not to go for it too much because you can lose quite a bit of time going for it, and usually just a couple of kills is enough to determine the prize pack. But definitely, if you do learn that a certain enemy or group has bombs, then it's very prudent and advisable to farm them as much as you can.
And there's also the issue that they have a limited ammo item as their weapon, so it's not going to be. They gotta limit their usage.
Yeah. Speaking of ammo and usage, 10 more arrows to fuel them up. So if they were more proactively farming, they just got a nice little refill right there. Even though they're not finding a lot of quote unquote important items, all these little items do add up to progression. Money, swords, mails, all those things really do help to shape your gameplay. And even little things like boomerangs can help make the menu a lot more easier to navigate. So, while it's not as exciting again as like, a pearl or boots or something like that, it does all go towards your gameplay.
Boomerang also helps with finding out what the stun prize is. It could be something useful like a clutch full magic pot, or it could be more 20 rupees.
Yep, definitely. It's very good information to have. Yeah, and again, even with the boomerang, there are some really niche strategies that can come into use. One common thing that people will kind of get stuck on is if they have Fire Sword and Swamp and they're trying to hit the Crystal Switch behind the wall. With Master Sword and upwards, you can hit a switch easily, but the Fire Sword will actually whiff. So, in that situation, having something like a boomerang, you can very easily hit the switch. Or, even on Death Mountain and Paradox Cave, hitting the Crystal Switch, because the boomerang will go over a wall.
That is true, as well as you did say crystal switches, right?
Yep, Crystal Switches. But yeah, not too much in Escape, generally speaking so far. They did find the map, so we know that the map won't be in the back of Escape. And both of them having bombs, they'll both be able to get that. So, Escape is pretty much right off at this point. They just need to make through and hopefully find something fun.
At least they won't be trolled with no bomb this time around, because if it was something important in Escape, well,
Yeah, definitely. The rope room that Tief is in can be a little annoying. It's a big source of RNG trying to get through. The ropes and the rats are really good for farming items. The bats, though, do not give any drop, so they are not advised to kill, only to dodge.
Really? They don't. Those bats don't even drop keys.
To my understanding, the bats drop absolutely nothing, and even in Aga Tower, the eyeball bat type enemies, they don't actually count as enemies within the room itself. So like the two red guards in Aga Tower, you can kill them and then go through the door in that room. You could actually just leave those enemies alive. Same thing in the Dark Maze in Aga Tower. For some reason, the game just really treats that they don't exist. They're kind of just there.
You actually missed a really bad part. But anyway, they found fighter sword and a red bottle in the back escape.
Sword and bottle, definitely good. The bottle alone makes Kakariko a much better check, but the sword also lets them have an easier time at Moldorm, or the mini Moldorm Cave. So, you know, they do have a lot of options now. And it looks like Tief Blau will continue on going from the Sanctuary. So probably see him do a more a typical kind of strategy, go from the Sanctuary, head left, and then, you know, probably check Lumberjack and all that area, go through Lost Woods, and then work down to Kakariko. Or no, he might skip Lumberjack.
I've seen this play a few times before. They usually skip it because you need the boots to access Lumberjack anyway.
Yeah, it's this isn't a play I'm personally a fan of, because if you're coming this far, I almost feel like you may as well just go all the way. But it is a small time saver, and yeah, you cannot get the item without the boots. Sometimes the information alone is enough, but you know, skipping the Lost Woods too can be a little bit scary. But not too much in Lost Woods so far, but we do see that the tree gives 5 arrows as the hoarder gives bombs. That's very handy. And this is kind of why I like Trenter's play personally. You get to check the prize packs. That's the main reason why you come from Sanctuary over here. It's to really check the prize packs, the tier, you know, the tree pulls and whatnot. And unfortunately, I did not catch what was in Lumberjack Cave.
No, neither did I. That was a very quick check. And I don't know if there was the screen cropping or whatever, but yeah.
Yeah, couldn't see nothing, but we'll just assume there's nothing. So obviously we saw nothing.
But we just saw the hammer, so that's something.
Yeah, that's definitely something.
Oh, was that tier 2 prize pack 8 bombs?
I looked away at the moment.
Yeah, because those
Very
arrows
creepy,
and those bombs. Whoops.
Oh, from the tree pull? Yeah, probably then. Tier 2 or tier 3. But yeah, Chunter having 10 bombs, this is really big for him. You know, it might be, but you know, you might get money by the 10 bombs. That means you won't have to buy or gamble any bombs in town right now. Tief Blau is really gambling that there'll be bombs here, and there are blueberries in here, so that was a very good gamble from him. It is a gamble, but if it pays off, as you can see, things go along swimmingly, and a Master Sword to go along with that.
And more bombs. He really played the luck because he actually checked the shop and realized he was 10 rupees short.
Yeah, it's kind of unfortunate. This is, you know, again, kind of one reason why people pay it off, because he will be very close to having the money for bottle vendor. But between money for bottle vendor, you know, money for bombs and whatnot, it can be really risky to go straight to Kakariko, and especially to get the tree pull and hoarders. But you know, Rando is Rando. That 20 rupees just guaranteed that he could have enough money for the bottle vendor, or alternatively, he could route it in later if he wants to save the money for Zora. Money in the early game can be a little bit difficult to get to, so a lot of people kind of hold off.
And we got a king, a big red king. I imitate Phantom Ryu if it's like that right now, but I'm still a little nervous.
Yeah, Canismar definitely a good find. Doesn't play too much of a role right now, but might be an early sign that the mountain is a prudent place to check. Hammer, King, slowly building those puzzle pieces. And Tief Blau goes for chicken clip. Very nice. I almost feel like I haven't seen one in a while, but
There might have been a chicken club last night. I can't remember.
I think a lot of people have been picking up that you can do the faster bomb strat in their room, and so trying to do the chicken clip at the same time can be a little bit risky. And wow, Trenter, not quite getting the bomb, the blowing up the wall, but he does get the chicken through with invulnerability. Sometimes having a bomb and throwing an item has screwy properties. I know if you place the bomb and throw it and lift an object too quickly, the bomb will actually go straight through a wall. That's something you might see in the Turok in the eye laser room and in GT. So if it's ever happened, it's something to watch out for. But
I think that's the first time I've ever seen a chicken clip like that. Anyway, library and race game had nothing, though having the extra 50 rupees might be helpful for Zora.
yeah, the extra 100 rupees definitely helps. Let's see, Tief Blau, the first to make this short trip, but he has not checked Lumberjack or again gotten a lot of the pulls. Although the gambles to find bombs in town paid off huge for him. Not only did he get the money, but he also got the bombs. That was very important. Coming out of the library, which Trenter just came out of, you can actually, like holding down, you can jump off the ledge, but it's a little bit quicker to go to the right a little bit to jump off that one part. It's a cleaner jump, just a little bit faster. Sometimes low frame savers like that can add up to being an entire item check or more throughout the course of a race. So it's always good to try and learn about those free time savers as time goes on.
Yeah, every little bit helps when you need to cut down on seconds. As well, we did just get a map check. Hera and Eastern were regular crystals, and Desert was the red pendant.
And to go past that, Tief Blau finding blueberries at the dam and just saying, nope, I've gotten enough bombs. So wow, like this is so funny. Coming in with no bombs, no money, leaving with bombs and money. So many bombs, he just isn't gonna bother picking them up even.
I hope that doesn't bite him in the end.
Yeah, it can be a little bit hard to say. Thankfully for the mini Molderm cave right here, or an alternative hive cave. Bombs do frequently get used, but in this case was not necessary. So he should have enough to do what he needs to do. And if he needs more, find a way to get more. But it's lots of money at the mini Molderm cave. And a bottle, but they already have a bottle, so it doesn't really open up anything at all.
I'm kind of surprised that he didn't go after Zora, but then he probably wanted the Moon Pearl to hit up the Waterfall Cave.
Yeah, without the Moon Pearl, you can't do the walking on water. But Trenter, with some aim of Hawkeye, some very good arrow shots there. A little bit risky, and you're using up some ammo, but he landed 3 really clean shots there, so that was quite impressive. Ooh, and yeah, he'll skip the 3 bombs at Dam, but he'll get those 4 bombs right there. So just everything working out for him. It's very, very convenient.
We got Tempered Sword.
Yeah, we are at Shalashaska, finding Tempered Sword, and nothing else, really. Tief Blau has more than enough money for Sora, but he still needs a little bit more if he wants to do House of Darkness entry as well. Same for Trenter. They're pretty much synonymous in that regard.
Meanwhile, we have Trenter checking Ice Rock Cave. Let's see if that has anything. Ooh, the lamp. Now that puts Eastern in logic.
Yeah, that puts Eastern logic, so chance of progression Eastern is very big. I wouldn't be surprised if we found Pearl and Glove in here, but I do like Trenter's choice too. Again, in this early game, even little bits of overworld. They're really important. They help to round out your gameplay. Even if it's something more inconsequential, like mail, it may play a role later. And, it's also the fact that the area is a little bit hard to route into. You don't ever go there in the dark world. So, like, Ice Frog Cave is just one of those awkward little one-offs, kind of like Agina. Agina I can route in a little bit better, but there's still no real ideal way to do it.
Yeah, with the Gina, typically people wait till they have like the flute or boots.
Yeah, the flute or the boots save a little bit of time, but in the early game, if you don't have the flute or the boots, like it can, just maybe not be a thing. So
Also on Twitter side, he actually talked to Sahasrara and found out that Meyer was the green pendant. You don't normally see that play in standard or open. Usually that's key sanity.
yeah, it really depends on the player. But yeah, it definitely does apply more directly in Kisani. But Trenter, as a playstyle, is showing that he likes to have a lot of information. He likes to have his bases covered. Tief Blau playing a little bit, close, a little bit riskier here. I wouldn't call it risky, but definitely a little bit more gung ho. Very much go forward. So we'll see how this race develops. Kind of the paths they take, and the Ice Rod in Eastern.
As they say, that's a really good find, but early ice run usually means Turtle Rock is a pendant.
It seems to be the case. Like I really won't be surprised if Paw is a pendant too. But still, though, could be something in Turok. It's not so much if, like obviously the crystal and pendant matters, but when you're looking for items, it really doesn't. And yeah, it looks like Tiflau is having a pretty good darkroom here. Not having a lantern can slow players down, but for the most part, it's not too bad. And that darkroom is pretty simple once you're familiar with it. Yeah, and there's the pearl. So between the pearl, the lantern, the master sword, Aga is on the table. Didn't get to see what was in the lumberjack cave, but at this point, it probably doesn't matter.
He might, Tief? Yeah, Tief Blob might check it now just because he has the Moon Pearl, but we'll see.
That's hard to say. Like in his mind, he still has Esra Cave. He still has, Agina. But other than that, there's not too much that both players have. They're pretty well tapped out for things unless they find something, really substantial in one of those locations. But you never know. There could be gloves at Agina. And then if you go to defeat Aghanim, that's a big time sink when you didn't need to do it.
That is true, but if there's no glove, oh boy, it's gonna be an agonizing and anti-agonizing scene.
Yeah. And Tief making it very, through the dark rooms very well. They can be really scary, especially with the one with the Igors. That pot in the corner can be really difficult to grab because you need to be just a little bit off in order to grab it. But both players almost synced up here at Armos. Yeah, and a good fight from him. He gets his map. And now, difficult decisions will appear.
Yeah. Hopefully, Tief will go out to Ice Rock Cave and get the lamp. Otherwise, he's taking a long walk to Gino.
Yeah, honestly, both are pretty equal at this point. I don't think neither differs from the other too much, but it will be interesting to see what he personally chooses. He did gamble Ice Rod, so yeah, I would expect him to go Agina.
Which is where he's going right now. He'll probably check Desert Ledge as well, just to make sure there's nothing there as well.
Yeah, Agina, an early Agina check, I think, was more popularized during the Kistani tournament. A lot of people would kind of split. You'd go the Dam and Agina, and then you come back and do Mini Moldorm and Ice Rod. You kind of put them into two halves. In this version, a lot of items are situated quite early, so I do see Agina having regained a lot of popularity. I really do like an earlier check personally too. It can seem really far and out of the way, but you just never know in this version anymore. And again, with the timestamp get Aviga and this being difficult to route into, I really like going to Agina. Or Aghanim, Agna. I'm confusing the two a little bit. If not, just for myself mentally.
And Tief just found an opening to Desert. That's funny.
I had a feeling it was gonna be Glove or Book, but the point is, found Book, Desert open, 2 more items in Desert, so still being strung along a little bit here. And this is why it's also good to check Agina. So paying off for him, he's being taken away from the Lantern, but barring the Glove, Desert is actually completable. Well, that and what's on the torch with the boots, but having the book this early, yeah, it's really interesting.
Maybe we'll get a vanilla glove, but there is... Well, we'll see.
Yeah. Skipping all the arrows. So you have the big key. So far it's not locked too much, but... Ooh, Trunter. He's making the Aga play. It's not boots locked, so we'll find out very quickly which play was correct. Very quickly. Tief probably gonna pick up a small key here. Yeah, there's a small key. And prolonging it a little bit more, but good chance of finding one item here. It's a pendant dungeon too, so he's getting this out early. There's a good chance he just won't ever have to come back here or bother again, but this is why, like, you can see the huge difference. Trenter went to Ice Rock Cave, got Lantern. It seemed like a very strong thing to him. Yeah, so Tief will just get the one item. Seemed like a very, good thing for him, bad thing for Tief, but now we're almost seeing like a shift. But it looks like Aga is the play.
Yeah, it looks like it. There's nothing in Desert right now.
Yeah, so unfortunately for Tief Blau, he's going to have to head back to Ice Cave. It's not the worst, but a little bit of time lost there, so again for Trenter. And of course, Desert having nothing. He's currently leading.
What do you think will be at the pyramid once they finish Aga?
It's a good question.
Maybe it'll just be trash and they'll just go to Pod straight because they pretty much have everything to beat Pod.
Yeah, it's hard to say. I don't think there'll be anything too important. There might be something like a medallion or something a little bit more miscellaneous, but I don't think it'll directly be or necessarily be progression. Because yeah, they do have Pod, they do have the hammers, so they can do a clockwise Dark World tour. And Tief just barely dodging those crabs. Those crabs are like the scariest enemy in the game. They do 2 hearts as a light world enemy, so it's not uncommon to be at 3 heart containers, maybe even just 4, and have to deal with them.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of runner deaths from those crabs. They are somehow the scariest enemy in Light World.
Yeah, definitely. It should also be noted that a lot of these locations the runners will go to, in terms of a race mindset, the time spent in them is time neutral. They're both going to check these locations, so this is where execution plays a big role. They're both entering Aga Tower. They're not losing any time before going through Aga Tower as it's currently required, but the way they move through the tower is where the time difference comes into play. Routing is really important because you're trying to maximize the time that you're spending in each area or getting to each area in all your checks, but going through it is a big part of it too. Yeah, players have a pretty linear, clear path at the moment. They'll be able to go from pyramid, likely go into pod, which would be funny if it's dependent, but given their items, chances are the progression is there. But even if it's not, they can go south to Hype Cave, and then they can make their way east as part of tour. And I'm sure at some point between all that, they'll find the glove. Would not be surprised if they found a glove in pod, or even, just given the way the seat's gone, Titan's Mitt wouldn't surprise me either, but remains to be seen.
And before we forget, how many blue balls is Aga going to throw out? He's already thrown out 1 so far.
I'm going to say 2.
I would love to say my usually trolley 15, but well, it never happens.
Well, it has happened twice, but I don't think ever in Randomizer yet. So it's like a 1 in 32 or 36,000 chance. I forget exactly. Not common. Not common. And yeah, so kind of like we were mentioning, just a little bit of quote-unquote trash on the pyramid, though heart container definitely really useful, especially this early. They almost have everything they can do for Spike Cave on the mountain. So even just these little hearts might help for that check alone, but a little extra safety early on never hurts. And it looks like Trenter is not going to go to pod. Does have everything to beat it. So this is an interesting play from him. Although, given the portal from Link's house, yeah, so pod is dependent, but TR is a crystal. Yeah, I do understand this play. He's checking High Cave. Agapor right there. Can get back to pod real quick. And who knows, if there's boots or something in here, it could be very rewarding.
And all we got is a Tribe Cave today. Ooh.
Oh no, man, that 10 bomb upgrade, I think it's pretty hype.
Well, yeah, they just added that. That's one of the Uncle items, the 10 bomb. That was just recently added because of the randomized weapon. Oh wait, that was the upgrade. Sorry.
No problem. Yeah, it's only one 10 bomb upgrade, and an arrow upgrade in the game. I believe there's 6 of the other type. And Tief Blau just finishing up his Aga fight. It should be noted that one reason why players will do the charge spin is that the charge spin itself has many active frames. The period in which the charge spin is actually constantly hitting or registering a hit in the game is very long. So if you release it a little bit early before the shot is fired, you are covering the startup of Aga's shot. So it's the most efficient way to try to reflect an ore back at him as soon as possible. But other than that, Aga being mostly a glorified cutscene, there are little things you can do to speed up, but they're frame savers. So yeah, we'll see Tief make his way, see whether he chooses to go the Chunter path with Hype Cave and the bit of the tour, or if he'll go straight into Pod. Chunter just finding a heart container at Stone Kid, and now going to do the shovel game. So if you want to have some fun, get your guesses in.
Well, we were talking about safety items earlier. That was a nice safety item in the blue mail, considering all the damage that these enemies do.
Yeah, definitely. In Randomizer, you can get to some very dangerous levels very quickly, and so finding those heart containers in the blue mail, Helmet Store just got a lot simpler. Palace of Darkness or wherever else they go, a lot easier too. So for some players, it's a very nice comfort. Even though it didn't add direct progression, it might make a player more comfortable, which makes them play a little bit faster. But interesting play here from Chunter. He's actually going straight to Agina. I guess it was weighing on his mind, and he wanted to make sure that he didn't miss anything here. And Tief kind of parroting what he did earlier, doing Hype Cave. Getting his Hype 10 bomb upgrade, but not too much else.
Yeah, I'm not surprised that Chunter would do this, because with Pod being a pendant, it makes it less likely that you want to really dip into it. But still, it's Pod. There's so many treasure chests in there.
Yeah, it seems a little peculiar in some sense, but again, Agina I think is always kind of a good check to get out of the way. The problem though is that he'll get the book, and so now he's going to be led on a bit of a bunny trail. Pod, he has everything to complete Pod. You don't have to complete all of it, but Pod is one of the most item dense dungeons, having 5 items. So we're talking 2 items in desert to the 5 items of Pod, and you can full clear Pod. There's no guarantee that you can even enter desert or full clear desert. So it is an interesting choice by him, considering he's already got to Dark World. But part of it might also be he doesn't necessarily know if his opponent went here too. Tief Blau did go here, so by him coming here, he eliminated any potential benefit that Tief Blau may have gotten here by checking it early.
Tief will probably go to Pod afterwards, since that's pretty much his only play right now.
Yeah, as far as I know, that's the only thing he has left, and it does make a lot of sense. And yeah, again, unfortunately for Chunter, part of the gamble and the hope is that, well, don't have boots. Hopefully, it's not boots locked. And don't have glove. Hopefully, I'll find something before I would ever have to go Lamola. Both pennant, so that's not really a factor. But unfortunately, in this case, what he wants will be in Pod.
There is also the Zora play, since they do have Moon Pearl and enough money, but that would be a sequence break since it's required to have flippers. And the glove, for that matter.
Yeah, definitely. A large hope for that would be finding mirror or boots or flute in that regard. Those are kind of some key items that you hope for from that sequence break itself. But there's no guarantee that there will be anything there if it's out of sequence. So it's a little bit risky in that regard. They do have the option, but in this part of the game, they're probably the seed being a little bit more linear, and this far into it, definitely hoping for progression over a check kind of like that, I think. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what's in Pod. I'm kind of thinking it'll be a combination of like a glove and flippers or something along that line, maybe a hook shot, but we'll be really curious to see.
There has to be something there regardless of the game, because this is we're just walled off right now.
Oh yeah, no, there is definitely something in here, but do you have any prediction on what it might be?
It's either gonna be gloves or hook shot.
Yeah, the glove will give them a lot of access. It'll open up the mountain. It'll open up Village of Outcasts. Hookshot doesn't open up the mountain, but it would open up the mountain later if they don't have the mirror. But also they can hookshot to get across. They would still need. Well, they do have the hammer, so yeah, they could open that up. So yeah, hookshot or glove seems like a very sensible guess.
Yeah, I can't think of anything else that'll help them progress besides maybe flippers to Zora and some trolley side questing.
Yeah, it could be flippers and glove, but even then, like really, a glove is a bit of a linchpin at the moment.
You could say it'd be very handy to them.
You could, but we wouldn't. No, we could. It definitely would be very handy. And early big key. So in terms of routing, they could do the hammer jump to try and make their full clear of the dungeon a little bit more efficient, but it's no guarantee that they want to commit to the full clear anyway. Again, being that it is dependent and getting to Helma's sword does take a little while. Assuming there would even be an item on Helma.
And it's not even a green pennant, so it makes it even less valuable to go to Helm's Guard.
Yeah, and while it can be annoying to get to pod, the fact of the matter is that typically you'll warp to the beginning of the dungeon before you make your way to the boss. Again, unless you do the aforementioned hammer jump, which requires an early big key in order to make that, a very sensible play. Not gloves, but we're finding screw attack, the ether medallion. So, piecing together Turtle Rock bit by bit here. Potentially. But yeah, I think it would be sensible to try and gamble Helma unless they still don't find anything and their item happens to be on Helma, because they do have a book, which means they can check the pedestal. So, rather than gambling the pendant and the boss and all the time it takes to do the boss, it'd be good to make sure that it's actually going to, be beneficial to you. Yeah, unfortunately, Tief Blau having trouble activating the switch. He moved too far off screen. If you throw the bomb too low and move too far off screen, it actually won't register the hit. So he kind of despawned the explosion in a sense there.
Speaking of explosion, Tief was about to do the hammer deal, but he decided not to.
Yeah, apparently you're a few seconds ahead of me, so I just happened to see that on my screen here. But yeah, the hammer jump can be pretty intimidating. Again, with the big key, you can hammer jump to this chest and then kind of do a full circle all the way to Helma. If you gamble Helma, though, it's not as big of a deal because you can kind of, go up, go to the right, do, harmless hellway, all that kind of area, and then just end your pod tour at the big chest.
And another a miss by Tief Blau, so he's just gonna go the standard route.
Yeah, unfortunately, just a green rupee in the big chest there. And hey, there's our power glove.
They're so bad, as they say.
Yeah. In this case, it was an inevitability, but that actually does open up a lot to them. They now have access to the mountain. Without the hookshot, Without the mirror, they can't really get to much of the mountain, but it does bring the mountain into play, and it is in logic. Although, more importantly, they now have access to the other parts of the Dark World. So with this glove, they now have a lot more on the table. And with the hammer, they could full clear Thieves' Town too. So I expect, yeah, Tief Blau save quitting and probably going more or less straight there.
More than likely, you'll go to Dark World since there's a little bit more density of items there, especially when you don't have the mids or the hookshot.
Yeah, sometimes something like on the Old Man or in Spectacle Rock, there might be an item kind of trolling them there, but it's pretty good here. Lots of locations, and there's no guarantee. You could go out to the mountain if only to get the save point, and then also get the Old Man check. But then having to climb up to Spectacle Rock, for that one item gamble does waste time. But yeah, it looks like both players foregoing Helmasaur, and I imagine Trent are going to make the same play here. Tief Blau, it looks like, is going to make the pedestal check though. So yeah, gambling Helmasaur, gonna check the pedestal and then find out if maybe that was a good decision.
Get your pedestal hypes in chat, everyone.
Ooh, and just red potion. Handy, but not handy enough to clear, 3 dungeons and get it when, the witch runs a very lovely shop over in Eastern Hyrule. Support your local business. Buy a potion.
Yeah, I'd rather get Coke than Diet Pepper, which is what it's probably at the pedestal.
Yep. Oh, whatever is your poison, or, in this case, whatever is your potion. But yeah, so Tief, not going to go with Skullwoods. It makes a lot of sense. Again, he does not have Fire Rod to finish Skullwoods, and it is a crystal, so he will come back at some point. The gamble here is that there isn't a Fire Rod in Skullwoods or anything too important. Even if there is something important, he's going to come back here at some point. Really, the thing you're hoping to not find is Mirror, Boot, or Fire Rod. With the hammer, you can full clear Thieves, so again, makes a lot of sense that you come here. We'll see where Trunter goes, though.
Interesting that Tief just went straight to Thieves' Town instead of checking the rest of the Village of Outcast.
Yeah, sometimes people will check more of the village to hope for something to help. In this case, boots are really all you could ask for. People will check the treasure shop game, and then they kind of have a decision if they want to check more of the town. You would lose a little bit of time if there are no boots. So at the very least, doing one of these checks, like the treasure shop game, is very sensible. You save a little bit of walking, and yeah, Trunter here going to walk a little bit. And this is kind of the thing. Tief Blau will check these locations, so that the item locations themselves are time neutral, but Trunter is spending his time to walk to the shed. And then if he goes back up from here, he's spending that little time walking to be at Thieves or, C-shaped house. So if he finds boots, it'll make the gamble worthwhile, but if he doesn't, he will lose time over Tief.
I didn't quite catch that bunny sprite on Tief's screen. What was that exactly?
I didn't quite catch it either. I believe the sprite itself is from World of Warcraft. I'm not 100% sure, but to my understanding, that's the case. But yeah, so Trunter only finding like a green potion in a C-shaped house too. So Tief Blau getting rewarded for his small gamble here. It's kind of hard to say, like, is it a gamble when you go make the extra checks, or is it a gamble when you don't make them and you go ahead? In this case, I'd almost say that Tief didn't make the gamble. The gamble would have been to go out of your way to check the items. So in this case, he got rewarded for not doing the extra checks early.
Yeah, considering it is a normal route to check the village first, then Thieves Town.
Well, again, I think his is the purest route because he's not making any extra diversion. But a lot of people do like to make the extra checks, especially if you don't have hammer. I think the main thing people look for is, if hammer is in town, because there is one chest in here that is locked by it. The boots would just save a little bit of time, and we're talking 2 locations out of all locations in the game for boots. It does happen, but again, Chanter did lose a little bit of time going out of his way to make those checks. It definitely isn't a bad decision whatsoever. I do like it, but in this case, it didn't pay off. Yeah, so it's pretty interesting. Originally, Chanter was ahead of Tief, but Tief has taken a bit of a lead here. Again, a lot of those little things have added up and helped him. And especially at Chanter parroting a lot of the decisions that Tief has made.
Did you see what was in the big chest?
Yep, a butter sword. Butter, from a basic sense, doesn't actually save time, unfortunately, but it can help with risk mitigation. So in the event that you screw up, trying to get a low cycle on a boss, or just moving through the world, it can save time in that regard to compensate, but it doesn't actually save time over temper. Still, very nice thing to get. Makes things, very, very smooth.
I was about to make a pun, but I like blind to that. The only difference is that it doesn't matter which weapon you use on blind, they'll still take 9 hits to take them down.
Yep, that's correct. It's 3 on each cycle for blind here. Probably the easiest fight once you master it, but the hardest one casually, as if you're not on the script, then it's just a complete mess. The heads will kind of do a rotation pattern. They'll do 3 fireball shots in different directions, and then the 4th one will be tracking. So using that, you can easily dodge the heads if you know how to manipulate the fight. Unfortunately, Tief getting off script, but still having a good fight, having to use a potion to stay alive, but it's definitely better to stay alive and finish the dungeon than it is to die, be stubborn, and save that potion.
Yeah, it takes like almost half a minute just to get back to blind.
Yeah, it's definitely more time than they'd want to spend, and then the fight starts immediately too, so it would be impossible to get on the same script as before. So the fight is just inherently harder as well.
And on Trentor's screen, we see maiden leading the maiden, so you can say that's the blind leading the blind.
Yeah, fair enough. And a little bit of red blue too, so it just works out very nicely. But yeah, so Tief does check the rest of the town, sees that he still doesn't quite have too much, and so it looks like he's going to go back into Skullwoods here, and with 2 items in Skullwoods, there's a good chance that the other progression is here too. Be it something like a hook shot or, another mitt upgrade. But the old man on the mountain is starting to look a lot more appealing too. Got a lot of these checks in town, but just really not finding too much.
Yeah, this is feeling like a very linear seed right now, with one thing just leads to just one thing and no spreading out. It's like a tree branch.
Yeah, definitely. And in those cases, a lot of it just comes down to execution. Execution and little decisions. Again, Tief not checking town first, making that small gamble in a sense, Did save him a little bit of time. Oh, hey, mirror. It's a very nice thing to find. Mirror is pretty much a very big crux to how you route in this game. Not only does it open up locations, but then you can pair a lot of locations together. You can use it to get to the beginning of a dungeon. It's just, honestly, probably one of the most important items in terms of randomizer and its routing.
Did Tief get both items in Skull? It didn't look like it to me.
No, I don't think you did. There was a big key, a small key. Did the bomb jump to get across, and then I don't think that was anything. And then opened up a chest on the right and found the mirror. He could go to the back and check one more chest, but again, the dungeon is a crystal, so Tim, he probably figures, well, I got progression. I can put off for later. We'll see if Trenter makes the same decision.
Fair enough, though he might be kicking himself later if there is actually good regression later on in Skull.
Yeah, I'll have to see. The mountain definitely has a lot more value in terms of what he's looking for. But sometimes, again, if it's something like boots or, a mitt or something, it would be really huge to find because then, it would help on the mountain too. But these little decisions, again, it's a little bit of an edge over your opponent.
So
Remains to be seen.
Sorry, go ahead.
I just said it remains to be seen.
Speaking of seeing, we just saw the red mail on Spec Rock. They're not going to skip that.
Probably not. It depends on the player, but they're still a little bit lower in hearts. And so for the approximate 3 seconds it takes to grab the mail, even just a wardrobe change for I can't talk. Even just the color change for some people might be benefit. That might be what they like. People tend to really enjoy their sprites, and so sometimes even just a little thing like that might be worth it to a player. But yeah, it'll cut down a lot of damage, low hearts, so they are much very, very tanky at this point.
And just more rupees on the Ether tab. We'll see if Tief will go to Hera first. Yep, that's his play.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Can clear it, as everything clear it, is a crystal. Just makes a lot of sense. And looked like he debated mirroring early, but is willing to pick out the extra heart. Should be noted that while they do have red mail, which makes them, much more invulnerable to damage, something like the spike cave in Dark World, it still takes unmitigated damage. It'll still take 1 whole heart for every hit. Doesn't matter which mail you have. So the heart container, in one way, could be compensating and accounting for that. But we do see a divergence here. Trenter checking on the mirror ledge. I really like checking the mirror ledge. It can be really awkward to route into. A lot of people skip it, but if it does have something, then it can just be a huge boon to your game plan. But yeah, so far Trenter, in some sense, being a little bit more thorough than Tief, but in this case, only getting reward with another heart container. Just things not really paying out as much for him as one might hope.
Especially compared to his early game. And also with the graveyard, it's really hard to. It sometimes annoys runners when they don't have the some mitts to get to graveyard because they don't know about the path for the flowers like Trenter just used.
Yeah, he did. And in a linear seed like this, you can really see the decisions, kind of side by side. Trenter is now heading up the mountain, and he does have, a couple more checks, but in terms of, kind of who's quote unquote ahead, Tief kind of has the lead here currently. It can definitely shift, but again, in a linear seed, you can really see things side by side. bombos, or just some a quesadilla platter in Tower of Hera. So that is our 2 items, our heart container and our medallion. Only 1 medallion away from having them all, but 2 medallions. So it'll be interesting to see if they do, directly play a role in Mystery Mire and Troll Rock, or if they'll get trolled and both will be Quake. But they're definitely covering all their bases so far.
Speaking of troll, Tief was about to enter arena but got knocked back up to the top.
Yeah, there's some little tricks you can do for Moldorm with holding out your sword. Even though the Butter Sword Charge Spin does no more damage than a normal slash, holding out the sword can help you avoid falling. It makes you move slower, but if you do get knocked to an edge, you can survive. So deciding whether you want to do a charge or just do normal slashes, it's kind of up to the player, depending on what they're comfortable with.
But in general, it's probably better to do, like, at least hold out for the slash, just so you can avoid getting knocked off by troll lore.
Yeah. In the case of the fighter sword, it's definitely really good because the poke does the same amount of damage as a normal slash to Moldorm in that regard. With the different swords, it does change a little bit, but it's a compromise between damage, mobility, and safety. And Trenter, the dead rock, thankfully not getting in front of the stairs. That is probably like one of the most annoying ways for the dead rock to go, but not today.
And Resident Sleeper Cave only had our Fisher Price My First Shield.
Yep, just a cutting board for your vegetables. Not good for too much. It does, the shield can save a few frames, but the shield can also take away a few frames. So it's kind of awkward in that regard, but some people like it, some people, not as much. It gets a little bit understated that the shields do play into the logic, particularly the mirror shield. And hey, let's just have all the medallions. So yeah, doesn't matter what TR or Mystery Mire are, medallions covered.
There's our, as Big John called it, the Tilt coin.
Yeah, definitely looks like a tilde or a bacon strip. Or a friend of mine who's a Pokemon fan said a trapinch beak.
I can actually see that now that I remember what that Pokemon was. So now the question is, where's our next progression?
Yeah, I have a sneaky feeling that our players are going to have to take a dip into Swamp Palace here. Oh, I'm sorry, they don't have the flippers. They have the mirror and the Bombos tablet. I was getting ahead of myself. But Swamp isn't too far removed with the mirror and everything else, barring flippers and hookshot. But yeah, Tief didn't get to check these mirror locations, but yeah, he's gonna check the tablet here. Just, yeah, very linear seed so far. Not a whole lot.
Yeah, not a whole lot of divergence or anything. It's just been a one complete straight line.
And sometimes linear seeds can be nice. You're just kind of going through the motions. You don't have to worry about getting trolled or too much guesswork. Just little things like, again, like Tief choosing to forgo checking the rest of the town first, going through thieves and then checking after. Little things like that. Enough to keep you engaged, but not enough to send you on too much of a goose chase. Yeah, I see Trenter making use of holding the sword out. And taking Moldorm out in 2 hits. Very nice.
Just a question, is there any items on Landmollas or Helmasaur?
I do believe there is one item on La Mola. For Homostor, I did not catch it.
Because that would be incredibly trolly if they had to go back into dungeon and beat those bosses. But also, they do have Zora to check right now because they do have the money, they do have the gloves, so it is in logic. Maybe we'll get a vanilla flippers.
Yeah, it is true. It kind of looks like Tief is making an unfortunate trip into Skullwoods to check the back of it. We'll have to see if that is where it goes. But yeah, there is a potential item on Lamela. There is that one item at Zora in Logic. Although with the Pearl, they could fake Flipper and then Water Walk to check basically everything except the Water Ledge. And yeah, just not a whole lot of locations left. Helmasaur, just being the last thing too.
Also, we did forget Catfish, so they can. That's actually, if they go back to start, they can just route both Catfish and Zora in. So that's a better logical play.
Yeah, Catfish can be awkward to get to, but with the mirror, they can do both. They'll forgo the fake Flipper Water Walk, but again, progression is the main thing. There's no guarantee that there would be anything there. Unfortunately, Tief making the trip, Skullwood's not the play. So this is where Trenter will gain some time on him, barring, a decision from him to come and check this as well. It looks like Tief may be contemplating a few things on what decision he should make. Will not be surprised if he goes and checks the mirror ledge here now. For him, coming back to Skullwoods made sense because he had not checked these parts. But for Trenter, having been more thorough in this regard, again, is likely to get more pushed to Catfish and Zora, which would be a very sensible play to do.
Looks like we got Tief checking the Lumberjack. Hopefully, we'll actually see what the item is.
Yeah. That's just a piece of heart. But we can kind of see here where early he gambled this location, but the information alone was starting to weigh on his mind, and so he did route it in very nicely. But just kind of different methodology by each player, depending on what they want to.
Looks like Trenter's actually gonna check Bombos right now. And he's gonna be disappointed with that item.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. Kind of, both of them having little divergences, but again, each of them kind of parroting each other at some point or other. Trenter having already checked this ledge, and Tief having already checked this tablet. I'd be surprised if Trenter went to Skullwoods to check the back of it, but but we will see. Ooh, he's gonna make the Lamola play.
He's in the area. That makes a lot of sense, and it won't take him too long to get there.
Yeah, absolutely. Do not have the flute, do not have the boots. There's no quicker way to route this in currently, given the fact that I just picked the tablet. So very nice decision from him, and hopefully it'll, result in a very nice reward. Yeah, it looks like for Tief, he's going to make his way probably back to town because he did not check Cave 45 or in the Grove area where he mirror and check, but no, he's going to the right. Looks like he's going to be doing Catfish and Zora, but trying to reconcile a way to pair Catfish with Zora, I think. Yeah.
But he forgot there's no way to get there from west to east Dark World, or north to east Dark World.
Yeah, it can be a little like the maps are really similar, but they do change in very subtle ways. So yeah, again, while he could go from east to west, he cannot really go west to east, not without the flippers at least. But yeah, so again, sensible play, catfish, and Zora. And you will find out what's on the ledge too. And then for the waterfall cave, you could ride in with Ice Palace later. So definitely a very good decision here. Again, two different kind of philosophies in a sense coming out. Chunter being very thorough, pairing, tablet with the desert, and Tief kind of playing, a little bit more off the cusp, trying to, cut corners here and there. So very quickly, we'll have our answer on both screens, almost a sync in item gain here.
Tranter's having a little trouble with the Lamos, but he gets a really nice spin slash to take out the last two. Oh, he hit the fire rod.
And the Titan's Mitt. Both were right. Wow. That is huge. The Titan's Mitt opens up a... Oh my goodness, like, yeah. That's funny.
That's crazy. Trenter only have like one play in that skull. That's what he's probably gonna think of first, and then but Tief, he's got the whole wide world to him right now.
Yeah, a bit more opened up. Unfortunately, without the fire rod, cannot do enough in Turtle Rock. They definitely need the item that the other has, but wow, just both having it. So a little bit of a breakup here, but just a very funny result. And part of the problem is that, again, going to Pendant Desert, check Lam Mola for that one item, it's definitely there, but yeah, we'll have to see. Trenter making a beeline, making very good on his fire rod. No Titan's Mitt, which would open up, again, like more of the mountain, Turtle Rock, that sort of thing. But
so he kind of got lost, fittingly lost in the Lost Woods, because I think he might have wanted to go to Pedestal, but he forgot that he was in the light world. He wanted to go to Skullwoods.
Yeah, possibly. Just routing it with Skullwoods. And both of them entering. Tief entering from the left, so he'll actually get the quick warp, so he saves some frames there. But Tief can do most likely Blacksmith, Hammer Peg, that sort of thing. And Trenter making good on the Fire Rod. This is very interesting. We'll have to see how it plays out. There's a lot of potential on both sides for, there to be a little bit of an issue. I'd say more so for Tief, but we'll see. Unless, like, what could be in Skullwoods that would really throw a wrench into things? Flippers. But yeah, it's definitely narrowing down more.
Because flippers will make them think, oh, swamp, or maybe ice, instead of, go to catfish and Zora.
Yeah. This is good for Trenter in a sense, because again, he got the annoying location out of the way and did pay off. Tief could be taken for a little bit of a tour. But yeah, we'll really have to see. Yeah, almost an hour 10 in. Not too many items left. Given the linear seed. Things are opening up quickly, but still not too many items, just some very key items. Holding them off from really having access to everything.
Yeah, mainly the hook shot, possibly mainly the hook shot and the flippers, possibly the boots if There's some if the big key in Gannis Tower is on torch.
But it won't be.
If it's me, it's probably gonna be a tower room, which I usually guess, and somehow while I'm crew, I start the big key game, I get the win. I'm like, oh great. People are gonna say I rigged it.
Yeah. So Trenter, come to Skullwoods. Skullwoods can be a little bit like it's kind of like one of those more one-off dungeons. So, you know, getting it done early, definitely not a bad thing, but not finding progression. So, you know, he might have been thinking, well, the seed's been so linear so far. Maybe this is, you know, another part of it, but not being paid off here. Not mirroring and checking Pestle either. It looks like he's probably making the catfish syrup play. So a good thing for him is that he should be getting his mitts very soon here. But we really need to keep an eye on Tief here. Looks like he's making his way to the desert. If he does go to finish off Lamola, this will be really big for him.
Yeah, he doesn't want this to be too trolly right now because he actually is kind of locked to do desert right now. There is nothing else for him.
Yeah, it really worked out in the sense where he got to do the another tour through the Dark World, which the purple chest, not like it wasn't on the tablet, but the purple chest led him to the same area. So, you know, it's no less sensible to come here from where Trenter was, and even from where Tief was earlier. So, just working out for them. So, not quite the sync item get here for Trenter now getting his Titan mitt, but still, you know, very soon both will have each other's item. So kind of, you know, a little bit of a long distance high five, but
Fittingly a high five with the mitts.
yeah. And what's kind of funny is it looks like Flippers might be in their vanilla location today. It's kind of a funny thing, but in this version, Flippers are very commonly in Turtle Rock. So it's almost as if it's their vanilla location now. They could find Flute too, or something else, like Hookshot again, but just really more of a linear seed, you know. Turlock looking very appealing, being a red crystal, being a crystal, and being full clearable.
And that seems to be Trenter's play because if he went to Link's house, he would have went to Swamp first.
Yeah, you better go back in there and show that old man some love. He created a save point for you right here. Fills your health. And Death Mountain isn't exactly called Flowers Canteen and you know, Rainbow Mountain. It's a little bit dangerous. I'll be curious to see if Trenter. Oh no, it's not logic. He could do the spike room, the spike cave here. But with it not being in logic, we'll probably forgo it. But Tief getting his fire rod, probably frustrated that he went to Skullwoods and found a key. He did route it in with some other checks though, so it definitely wasn't the worst, but small time loss. But now has the fire rod, and looks like he's just going straight to the mountain. Knows that there's items on Dark Death Mountain, has everything to clear, you know, clear Turtle Rock. So Crystal, you know, very sensible play.
That's what, 12 items available for them?
There's 5 in Turtle Rock. There's the Mimic Cave, which makes it 6. 2 in Super Bunny, and nothing in Hookshot. But there is the floating island, although I don't think it was anything.
Yeah, I just forgot the hook that they don't have Hookshot. Whoops.
Yeah, it'll be funny to see if I say funny But if they enter the fire rod lock portion of Turok and forget to go the wrong way, oftentimes, people will take the hookshot for granted when they get to Turok, but it can control them in that regard. Bombos being the medallion required to open Turok, but we have all the medallions, so inconsequential, but still nice to know, because it gives our tracker a fun thing to click.
Interesting that Tief walked down or dropped down the mountain to get to Super Bunny Cave. I guess he doesn't realize that he could have went from the top side. Ooh, what are those?
Yeah, so Tief here, coming here over Skullwoods will be rewarded. The only thing you could really hope for from Skullwoods would be boots for the most part, in terms of going there. So it makes sense that you came to the mountain. And indeed, finding something like boots here, very nice to get. Just the little trades between the two players, the little decisions and how they really affect things. Trenter, kind of taking a little bit more of the lead back here, but those little things, they do add up. And being very cognizant of the fact that you can use the boots to get to that first chest in Hookshot Cave, finds the flippers not in their vanilla location in Turtle Rock, but close enough. Very good that he's aware of that. Some locations in the game can be a newbie trap, but finding those flippers, being aware of that, very good.
I'm just finding it funny that one piece of footwear led to another piece of footwear.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and some powder in Turtle Powder, very nice safety, does open up one location. So should they go to Kakariko, they can now check the magic bat.
Powder is so useful in Turtle Rock considering how many anti-fairies and bunny beams are in this cave, in this dungeon. Also, as you were predicting about the fire rod, Trenter didn't forget that he doesn't have a hook shot, so he's taking the long way, the standard route.
Yeah, he's showing himself to be a very methodical player, making sure that his checks are thorough. And then again, not forgetting that you can bonk, get the flippers, and not getting trolled by the lack of hook shots. So as a player, again, just, thorough, methodical, just having all the T's crossed and the I's dotted. So it'll be kind of cute in a sense to see if Tief will do the same thing. It happens to the best of us. Players that run this game all the time, top players, top of the leaderboard. You'll see them make this error. Just kind of one of those things like flying key. Oh, and indeed. Yeah, and I think he just realized,
Yeah, they're the rage slashes. This is especially annoying if you're coming from NMG to Rando.
Yeah, you hate to see this kind of thing happening, but I am kind of smiling at the moment. I'm sorry, it's funny. Happens to all of us. But just a small time loss here. Ooh, and Trender has to be very careful. Trial by fire, trying to make this powder work. Very dicey. Very, convenient place to get the powder, because Turok, being one of the final dungeons of the entire game, is very scary. Those pokies may look very happy and bouncy, but they will bounce your health from one end of the bar to the other.
Yeah, it was very scary because he was getting bounced around in Chain Chomp very badly. Ooh boy, that was really butt clenching.
Yeah, and again here, you don't actually need to charge your sword because of the butter damage. And in this case, the char spin will actually increase lag for the room. It's a little thing that, again, isn't very common, so it's easy to not be aware of it. But having the butter and having, again, little frame savers, they can add up, but there are definitely more important things to focus on too. And Chunter being really low magic here. This is a very scary dungeon to run out on magic. There's not necessarily a guarantee you'll get magic. There is one magic pot in this double pokey room that Chunter is coming into, but especially if you get to Trinex and die and you get warped back here, it can be really hard to kind of recover. Before the boss, there is a full magic decanter refill. And yeah, again, Chunter showing, just a good awareness.
I was more worried for the fact that since he didn't have a hook shot, he might run out of magic before using a Samaria block to get him across to the big chest.
Yeah, that's a big part of the fear. You'll get this door here, but running out of magic is a very possible thing. And trying to farm up more, again, does take time. But we got a Mimic Cave here. Fun fact, to my understanding, this is the only place in the entire game where a Dark World enemy is in the Light World. And if that's not true, you have a... Oh, well, there are the Ibats. Okay, but regardless, this is the only time the Mimics are in the Light World. This is kind of funny that you have to access it from the Dark World, but it is in fact in the Light World.
Minor developer oversight.
But yeah, within Turok proper, not too much here. The powder definitely nice and does open up one place of progression. Cane of Burnus, the Spike Cave is now also on the table. Just kind of like little one-off stuff that's more annoying, but of course the big thing I would say was getting the flippers. With the flippers, barring the hook shot, they have, large access to Swamp Palace, but also they can full clear ice. Ice being the red crystal, leading to Pyramid Fairy, so, again, just a much more linear seed in this regard. Really still looking for the flute and hookshot.
Actually, flute is not necessary for the seed unless Meyer really has something.
Have you seen this seed? It's required. No, but jokes aside, that's very true. The flute does not logically open up the mountain, seeing that they already have the lantern, and there's no guarantee that Myra is actually required whatsoever, being a pendant. Enchanter using the Kinnaburna to try and use the Invuln to get through. What's kind of fun is that both the Kinnaburna and the Cape, while they do a similar goal in making the player invulnerable, they both have very different applications. They are very unique from one another. The Kinnaburna can add lag to the game, whereas the Cape doesn't really do that. It's because the Kinnaburna is adding more sprites to the screen, whereas the Cape is actually reducing them. And then even in magic consumption, the Kinnaburna is good if you are trying to use invulnerability for a long period of time, because it has a magic activation use, but then afterwards the tick of damage does, or not tick of damage, the tick of magic it consumes is much lower. In terms of numbers, activating the Kinnaburna takes 16 magic, and then after that is 1 magic per tick or second. The Cape, however, has no activation costs, but per tick or second of use, it costs 4 magic. So over time, the cane is more efficient, but between the lag it adds and the time in which you need to use it, it may change your decision on which one you want to use.
So we have Trenter going up against Trinex now. Interestingly, he went after the ice head first. Typically, most people go after the fire head first.
Yeah. Getting rid of the ice one would, reduce the possibility that there's ice on the ground, but he was cutting it very close. This fight is scary, if only for the reason of running out of magic. You only get 8 shots from full magic with a rod. And then if you're using some for the platform, you now only get 7. It can just make things really dicey, especially if you don't have a magic refill. A lot of people will opt to get the safety door on Laser Bridge, if only to avoid the risk of having to go through all the dungeon again in the event they run out of magic. Having the better sword, though, makes the fight much more simple. They only need to do 3 shots, or 3 slashes on each head. So that definitely helps in terms of magic consumption. But yeah, both players doing a good job getting through the fight.
Trenter opts out of doing Spike Cave. He looks like he's going straight to Ice, or maybe going up to Waterfall Fairy. We'll see what his decision is right now.
Yeah. Again, just given the fact that he's been very, cognizant of his situation, I would not be surprised if he does do these checks again, like, going to Hobro over here, then going to the Waterfall Cave, the Waterfall Cave, and then, going into Ice. Whereas Tief is opting to check the Spike Cave area. And it is in logic. So, reading those breadcrumbs, reading those little items, if he does find something in Spike Cave, it might really help him in regards to going through the other dungeons. The player's really looking for the hookshot at the moment. So if the hookshot's in here, the possibility of go moding Ice and Swamp is very appealing. Most players really like to avoid putting those off for one reason or other, if, not only for the fact that they do take more time.
Yeah.
See, only a heart container, unfortunately, for Tief.
I'd say that's a very, I was gonna say heartless cave, but that would be incorrect.
Yeah. Ooh, mushroom in the waterfall cave. They already have powder, so they don't have to worry about fake powder glitch, but the fetch quest does open up one more location. And Trent's gonna take some time here to fill up some bottles, especially before going to Ice Palace. The Fire Rod does some work on Cold Stare, and if you don't have bombos, you do need to use every shot, all 8 shots of your Fire Rod perfectly to melt the ice. Having bombos, that's no longer an issue, but extra magic, extra whichever, is never a bad thing.
And Trenter also had the presence of mind to go to Witch after Waterfall and Bobo, while Tief decides to check the Sanctuary rock to see what's there.
Yeah. Small divergence from both, and yeah, Trenter just being very thorough. It's kind of hook shot-ish in shape, but it is not the hook shot. But there is the hook shot. Oh my goodness. Tief Blau finding the hook shot. That is huge.
And Tief Blau is in go mode.
Yeah, it has everything he needs to finish the game. But it looks like Trenter won't be too far behind. So both these players having the option of diving into the dungeon, a crystal dungeon that you do need to do, but both of them opting for overworld and the overworld paying off. Both players in go mode. It is now an execution race. Tief Blau going swamp. Trenter looks to go swamp. These racers are screens apart.
The only difference is that Trenter has the one crystal lead with beating Skull, but it doesn't really take super long for any runner to get back to Skull to beat Mothra.
Yeah, exactly. Both having butter, red mail, boots, can get around very quickly. Trenter does have that going for him, indeed. Still very close. This is where execution is huge. Little things do matter. Execution matters throughout the whole race, but this is where it becomes very pronounced. You can compensate a lot of things in routing with execution and vice versa, but in a situation like this, which happens all too often, this is where, things get really determinative. Yeah, Tief currently leading in Swamp. Again, we'll still have to do Skullwoods, but if he wants a chance of taking this, he definitely needs to maintain this lead. Ganon Tower big, he can still troll, but every inch you're given, you want to take.
Yeah, I don't see them really checking that many chests. They're gonna skip as many chests as possible just to save time, with the exception of maybe whatever is right in front of them.
Yeah, exactly. And it's very sensible too. Really all they want is silver arrows. Silver arrows would save some time. Silverless strategy is not particularly hard, but it is something that, a player does have to learn. It can be tricky to do quickly. On its own, it's not too difficult, but silver arrows is a hard time save. So, if there is a chest along the way, they may opt for it, but don't expect them, like you're saying, to go particularly out of their way. Real quick, in that room that Tief Blau is in, you can actually do something called a frame kill, where you will do something, a type of movement or action in that room to waste frames in order to set up a good timing. So Tief Blau, just using the hook shot to kill the jelly, but if you have the boots, you can slash your sword 2 times and then dash, and you will perfectly get through without ever being electrified by the jelly. Alternatively, you could start up your dash, cancel it, and then start it up again, and that will also time that jelly RNG. We'll see if Chanter gets the same RNG. Gets the same RNG, and he does the full screen hookshot too. So kind of a cute sync in that regard.
Well, that explains why I've seen runners go through that jelly and not get damaged. I've always wondered about that.
Yeah, it times it very perfectly, which is really cool. There's a lot of little things like that in the game, but they can be a little bit more niche, and it's really easy to watch a player and then kind of gloss over little things just because there is so much that's going on. Like coming out of the stairwell, Trencher's coming out here. If you don't hit left or if you don't hold left or right coming out of it, you will be subject to stair lag, which wastes, I forget if it's 13 or 17 frames. It's like one of those two, but we'll say between 13 to 17 frames in terms of lag time. And as a casual player, watcher of the game, you'll probably never even notice the difference. But Tief finishing the fight first here. Chenter right on his heels, but Chenter is technically ahead with the Moth difference.
Yeah, Tief wasn't really trolled by Argus this round, and it doesn't look like Trenter will be either, but we'll see with the second phase.
Yep. And it should be noted that both players did not check any of the extra chests on their way. Again, they could. It would be a couple of frames, but I'm sure both players are somewhat comfortable with serverless Ganon. And even then, there's still a lot of the race left. Their item could be on the boss. In Ice Palace here, it could be on the boss. Climbing down tower, looking for the big key. There's a lot of potential to just accidentally find the silvers. So, I really agree. No sense in spending too much time making these extra checks. You also have to balance it with the fact that the extra checks alone, if you do enough of them, will add up to the same time save that the silvers would give. So you really have to, kind of pick and choose your battles there.
Yeah, especially if, like, say, a multiple Trollborn or Ganon falls cost you the race.
Yeah, skipping a few of those locations, again, could compensate an entire Moldorm fall. Don't necessarily happen too often, but they do happen, and anyone can be subject to them. And Tief Blau getting a very nice speed tech there. It's able to knock both skeletons into the bomb. And now we'll have the infamous Ice Palace Bomb Jump. Ooh, excellent fall there. Looks like he chooses to go with a more flush against the wall kind of setup.
And that next attempt was a little too high.
Yeah, unfortunately, when you go flush against the wall, unless you get a really good pixel, it's a pixel perfect. Trying to set the bomb and walk from it. Ooh, you see, unfortunately, Trenter also kind of missed hitting the pot against the skeleton. Kind of like Tief, but Tief was able to compensate in time. So Trenter loses a little bit of time there, but this Ice Palace bomb jump is really eating up a lot of time here. We'll have to see how Trenter approaches it, but it's definitely a very tricky bomb jump. Tief makes it successfully. A little bit of a stink here, but yeah, this is not... Oh no! That's unfortunate. he's frustrated. He's got all the bombs in the world, but not all the health or all the time in the world to set this up. And Trenter gets, takes his time, make sure he gets it, and he does get it. So Trenter pulling ahead with the lead here. Well, he had the lead, but I mean, in terms of the dungeon. Although now he's just a little bit behind, but yeah. Trenter just, adding more to his lead. Yeah, and because Tief lost a lot of health, he opts to not take the hit through the spike trap, so Trenter gaining a little bit more time here too. Again, it's a lot of the little things.
I'm not surprised that Tief decided not to tank. I mean, Cold Stir does still do a lot of damage even with Red Mail.
Yeah, this dungeon is the vanilla dungeon in which you get the blue mail. And so because of that, the boss damage is really ramped up too. You got this cotton candy eyeball kind of looking thing just floating around the screen. And it's like, oh, well, it doesn't seem too scary. It's scarier than it probably should be. With green mail, the cotton candy boss does 4 hearts of damage. The mail helps mitigate it, but still, a healthy chunk.
Looks like Trenter's going with Bombos and Fire Watch strats. I kind of agree with this play, but it does take up a little time. But it doesn't matter, he takes Cold Star down, and it's time to head up to Ganon's Tower.
Yep, so one of 22 locations the big key can be in. If you have a guess, by all means, feel free to get it in chat. And Trenter just pulling a little bit further ahead of Tief, unfortunately for him. Tief will now be able to go to Skullwoods, but Trenter will be able to go straight to Ganon Tower. Trolley Ganon Tower big key could still really help decide things, but Trenter comfortably in the lead at the moment.
So where do you want the Ganon Tower big key to be today?
I'm kind of a fan of more equality and execution. So I do like the key to be situated late so that both players kind of have to do similar checks. But I also do kind of gravitate towards numbers 7 and 12. So I suppose for this race, I will go with 12.
I'm a troll, so I picked Tower Room, but
See, is that really trolling though? Because both players have to go through everything. So just, gambles or decisions really get equalized. It's almost like a mercy in a way.
That is true, I guess. It's just that I don't actually want to guess because every single time the last couple of times I've started the game, I've seemed to win, and I'm like, nah.
Oh, yeah, no, I completely gave up trying to be on the leaderboard or guess. If I do guess right, either the bot's down or I get sniped. So I called it quits. But yeah, so again, we'll probably see a little bit of a personal philosophy come out here in Ganon Tower. There are some different routes you can make through it, some objectively better than others, but given Randomizer, anything can work out too. And we see Trunter going left first.
Interesting. You usually see them go right first for the first two chests and then go left, but yeah, like you said, there are multiple ways to do this.
Yeah, it remains to be seen if he's going to do the first part a left first and then go full right. Given the fact that he's been, you know, just a very kind of, you know, more straightforward, thorough player, it's a little bit interesting to see him take this route, but we'll see. That is 4 down, still no big key. And he is going full left.
Actually, 5 down, you forgot the Bob's Torch.
Oh, right. Yeah, it's number 6 here, just the blue rupee. This is a very interesting play. You don't see this very often. Tief taking down Moth. So now he'll be heading up to the tower. If that key is on the right side, you know, especially like the immediate right side, and Tief goes there first, like this race would really have its gap closed.
That would be incredibly interesting. I wonder how badly Trintar would kick himself even for forgetting to check right first.
Yeah, you can see Chuntar approaching, you know, the quote-unquote rando room here, because in the speedrun you never ever go here, but in Randomizer, you do. So kind of, you know, 4 chests here, you know, nice low location check. Oh, and there are the silver and the flute. Big key. Oh, 20 rupees. That was quite the rando room, though. You don't get too much value out of that, but the silvers you definitely will. Even if the key is on the right side now, or, you know, in the middle, there's no, you know, silvers would not have... you would not Tief Blau. Silver, no get. Stuff and things.
No, I gotcha. I just wondering if, jokingly, Trintar would go for his flute, but nah, he's not gonna activate it.
Yeah. Should be noted that Bob chest here in the Ice Armas, going full right is the quickest way to get to here. So, you know, sometimes if you want to kind of gamble or get there quicker, you can go through the right side. But yeah, there's, you know, again, if it's not here, Trencher will go right to get the key because there's no other place it could be. But both players, you know, again, they'll kind of sync up, but now Trencher has Silver Arrow, so, you know, vanilla big key location, but very interesting development. Half magic, bugnet, wow, just what a Ganon Tower.
Ganon is hoarding everything. Oh my.
I mean, it's a good strategy, you know, you hide everything that, you know, can hurt you. But, you know, unfortunately, if you find that one location, it just all opens up. But yeah, Chunter now making his way through to 2nd level of Ganon Tower. I'm going to be going through the gauntlet on his way to Agatu, Ganon, so silver arrows and everything very well poised. And it looks like Tief is going to go the more common route with the 2 quick on the left and then, or the 2 quick on the right and then full left. So unfortunately, Trenter saving a little bit of time with his full left strategy here for Tief Blau, but it worked out very well for Trenter. So yeah, still an execution fest going through the tower here, but Trenter having a much, a bit of a lead, that little bit of time will pay off.
Also, coming into this room, I noticed that Drenzer equipped the bottle, so I'm assuming he's gonna save the fairy, but it looks like he doesn't. Not even that newly acquired the swag net.
Yeah, there are some bubbles at the top of the tower, and with the powder, he can, powder them to get fairies. But it is kind of funny. Just got the bug net. He could put the bug net to use, but opting not to, which makes a lot of sense. Red mail, full health.
Tief, on the other hand, is having trouble with the 2 crystal switch rooms right now. He mistimed, I guess, a hook shot.
Yeah, that area can be a little unfortunate. What's also unfortunate is that sword beams can overwrite the damage of a sword swipe. So Trenter making the way through the gauntlet and having some minor issues, not too many. Unfortunately, able to kill that Zazek right there. Again, sword beam can override it. You'll do 1 damage to Zazek, and then it just makes it really frustrating on ice physics and everything trying to get back to it.
Arguably, that and the next room afterward are the 2 worst rooms in the gauntlet.
It's kind of funny. Each room in the gauntlet, they kind of introduce, a couple of new elements. You'll have the enemies and conveyor belts, you'll have the enemies, conveyor belts, and BMOs, and so on and so forth. In the 4th room, they add ice and say, oh great, like what could be worse than, getting this ice and everything added? And then the developers just went more ice, and they made the entire floor ice. So a lot of love and care put into this gauntlet here, but Trenter doing a good job getting through.
Though he's getting trolled by the spike in that unusual room.
Yeah, the timing and trying to release the Kansamari can be tricky there. And, on a good day, the spike trap can, body block the hit and take one for the team.
Let's see if Tief opens all 3 chests, or he's just gonna mirror out for picking. Nope, he opens all 3.
Yeah, the chests are right there. But you did already have the silvers. But I guess at that point, for some runners, even just having the information matters to them. It's very common to see the final chest in Gown Tower. A lot of people check it just to kind of have that little bit of information, kind of the capstone to the seed in terms of items and what they all searched for.
Do you think these 2 will validate their run?
By that you mean check the final chest. I wouldn't be surprised if they did. It's a very fast check, and yeah, just kind of a nice way to close out a rando. If a person feels behind, they might want to forgo it, but it is only, a second or 2. Trenter opening it, finding the spade.
This tower, what is going on here?
Yeah, we see Trenter entering the Agatu fight here. The first orb from Aghanim will always be the guaranteed orb. After that, it's a 50-50 if it'll be a blue ball or a normal orb, up to 2 times, I believe. And then after that, it'll go back to a guaranteed yellow orb. So, bit of a cycle here, and getting some good RNG in terms of where Aga goes. It can be very easy to desync this fight and kind of have it go all haywire, especially given the teleports of the clone Aghanims. They take stun Agatu. I think that was a 4 cycle.
Yeah, I believe that's 1, 2, 1, 1 for the cycles. Anyway, now on to the big pig. Originally, they were gonna have, until they found the silvers, they were gonna do swordless, but Ganon, for some reason, hides his weakness in his own tower, easy to find.
Well, he clearly thought that the players would zig, but instead they zagged. So they went to the left and got the arrows, and maybe hoping that they go to the right and just go straight to Bob and Armos. But yeah, 6 slashes on the phase 1 of Ganon, 6 slashes on phase 2. Phase 2 is denoted by these fire bats here. Trunter pulling out Burna, and as you can see, it adds a lot of lag. Just the ad sprite on screen cancels the cane. Has half magic, so magic is not nearly as big of a concern, especially given that he has silver arrows, but you can just see how much lag it adds to the game.
Yeah, that usually people use the cape, so I was kind of surprised he did that. Well, then again, we don't even have the cape, so.
Yeah, that's the reason why you'd want to use the cape there. The cape over time does consume more magic, but you're reducing sprites on screen, so you are, not adding the same lag that the King of Burna would be doing. Considering they have half magic, it would make the cape an even more prudent choice if they had the cape, but in this case they don't. So, kind of have to take what you can get. And Trunter not getting the torch glitch, but with silvers it really doesn't matter. In fact, it can almost be better to not get the torch glitch. And with that, Trunter has taken down Ganon, so barring a glitch here that you'll fall into the pit, which he does manage to avoid, Trunter will take this in first place.
I'm actually not an SLR, so I don't know what the official time will be.
His SR TV time is 1 hour, 51 minutes, and 4 seconds. With a good time like that, the seed beckons for another one. Thank you, sir, but I'm not sure if we'll have another. So, Trunter's tournament life remains currently. Unfortunately for Tief Blau, he cannot make it into the bracket stage now, but there are still many more weeks of Randomizer left, and so there is still a lot of fun to be had in matching up with different opponents.
If anything, hopefully he'll still stay around. Just like keep practicing. I mean, just fighting other opponents will still be good practice for next time around.
Yeah, that's the big thing about these tournaments. The big benefit you get is from practicing. We're gonna see if we can get him in for an interview, but yeah, tournaments can be intimidating, but really the biggest benefit they provide is practice. You get to see another opponent side by side have to go through the same experience as you. And so, especially if they're similar level, you'll get to see like little things from them, maybe some alternative strategies. And so, it can be a lot of fun, great learning experience, and kind of gets, a person's head into the more competitive racing mindset, which can, reflect in changes in gameplay. So, definitely a good thing to get involved with. It can add a lot of pressure, it can, give anxiety, but at the end of the day, it is for fun. It's a passion, it's a hobby.
And we have Trintar in the room right now. GG's, my man.
GG's.
Thank you. That was a rough one.
Oh, it wasn't too bad. It was definitely very entertaining to watch, but maybe tell us from your perspective, how did it go?
The moment I saw the sword, I was like, okay, this feels like Aghanim. And I was like, okay, let's see, what do I have here? I can do Eastern Palace, and then Agina. Agina has never something useful, so let's skip it. I'm so glad that there was nothing in Desert Palace, actually. Except the Flame Rod in the end.
Yeah, it was kind of interesting because, Agina and Ice Rod Cave are very similar in that they're kind of a little bit more of a one-off in the overworld, but they either have an item or they don't, and so how you route them in, can take time to route them in, but Tief Blau actually did route in sooner, so he got the book earlier. So you actually checked that before even defeating Aghanim, whereas you checked it afterwards, which is an interesting decision. given that pod was opened up to you?
Yeah, it was like, okay, was Aghanim the right play? Let's check Agina real quick. And then there was like the book, and I was like, please.
Yeah, that heart attack there. Just real quick, Tief Blau does now finish in second place with his SRTV time of 1 hour, 54 minutes, and 14 seconds. So kind of some very interesting numbers between the two, which is kind of fun to see. But we'll see if we can get him in for an interview here. But yeah, in the meantime, no, I was really curious. You going to Agina, help kind of mitigate the check that Tief did. But the fact that there is the book definitely kind of, I could see that adding a little bit of anxiety, like, oh my goodness, there better not be anything in there.
Well, it was a thing. It was a thing. Let's put it this way. I'm actually hating this seed so far because every race seed I have, I always search for mids or gloves. It's kind of annoying.
It's kind of funny you say that. I've almost heard from some people that they tend to find mitts and gloves really early, but other things troll them. But it's kind of the deal with Randomizer too. But welcome, Tief Blau. GG's on your race.
Hey, thank you.
GG's.
GG, man.
That was quite the seed, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, definitely. It's a much more linear kind of seed. So like a lot of decisions seem to be more like cutting corners than any hard gamble necessarily. Just kind of how it ended up playing out, but just a lot of uncertainty, going through it and decisions. I'll let you guys kind of express what your thoughts on it more. But even just little things like the same time that Tief got the Titan's Mitt was the exact same moment that Trenter got the Fire Rod. So that was kind of exciting. But then it turned out you two had to swap real quick anyway. So very interesting.
It was one of those seeds where it was a good seed because I was laughing pretty much the entire time I was playing it. I was just like, you've got to be kidding me. You've got to be kidding me.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same. When I got the book, I was, yeah, okay, interesting. And it was not useful at all. And I'm like, wait, this is a sphere 1 thing. This is useful. So yeah, I was like, what can I go? Desert. Let's try desert.
I was thinking it was like, okay, there's gonna be something in the tablets, and both of them didn't pan out, and I was like, oh well, forget it. I'll come back to it later. So that fabled triple dip Skullwoods, not my finest hour.
It was a little bit unfortunate. Trenter did save some time there, but considering that you paired it in with Bumper and the Mirror Ledge, it wasn't the worst thing, but it was still an unfortunate thing.
Yeah, I practiced so many dark rooms too, and I only got to show off Eastern Palace, and then immediately it's like, okay, I really don't want to do Aga 1. I'm just not feeling it. There's got to be mitts somewhere. We have Moon Pearl, we have Hammer. There's got to be just gloves somewhere, so we can just go right into Thieves Town. But the very last chest I checked, it was the lamp. So it's like, shoot.
Yeah, it was really fun to watch because you two you definitely parroted a lot of each other's decisions. And of course, given the nature of the seed, are forced to make some similar decisions. But you also had some very unique divergences. Trenter was kind of a little bit more thorough in his searching, in a sense. So he went to Ice Rock Cave and never had to deal with that dark rune. And then the entire race is like little trades like that back and forth where, so that worked out for him in that sense. But then, he also checked the town before going to Thieves Town, and you kind of cut that corner and went straight into Thieves and then checked Village, on your way through. And so just a very, again, kind of in a linear seed, those little differences were really fun to watch.
I'm still just like laughing. just chuckling at just the way everything worked out.
Yeah, it's a thing. Let's put it this way, because like I got all 3 medallions before I even checked Third Rock or could have Misery Myers. Well, in the end, I know why. But yeah, that was like the first thing, and then you got Gold Sword or a Butter Sword that early. Going through Randomizer room, they are the silvers. I'm like, really?
Yeah. At that point, I was thinking, okay, man, Ice Armos is coming up. I cannot remember the last time I've done Ice Armos with regular bow, and then, oh, silvers. There goes any, tense moment there. Just took it right away.
Yeah, Seiryu is kind of amusing about it, how, again, like, you got silvers, flute, then you got shovel, you got like all these items in Ganon Tower, so just like just kind of throwing like just regurgitating all the things right there at the very end at you guys, just kind of funny from a viewer's standpoint.
I really like the half magic.
Oh yeah, that was. I picked up 2 blue potions because I'm like, okay, I don't have half magic. I've been doing the dumbs a couple times. Let's just get some, blue pots, and then half magic. I didn't even need this. I wasted like a couple minutes right there. Oh well.
Yeah. And I guess just real quick to kind of go on again, like Trenter's playstyle seemed to be overall a little bit more thorough. Or just kind of like, again, like, okay, Moldorm goes straight to Ice Draw, but then you saved and quit, and then strung it in later. But then Trenter, I have to ask, you went full left, which, so you cut the part, you cut that part of right. So it's kind of really funny just watching the different playstyle and then going full left, and then Tief instead going right and then full left. Just again, like little subtle things that were really amusing.
I honestly thought about Quakefish way earlier, and I was like, yeah, the chance that thing has something, come on, like, well, this is not happening. This is not happening. I check that when I get mirror. I check that when I have flippers. Ugh.
Oh yeah, those flippers, they're blocked by the boots. I kind of laughed. It's like, oh, one footwear block unlocks the other.
Yeah, it was interesting. I was like, okay, what am I when I got these 2 items, I was like, okay, what am I missing right now? Hookshot, Swarm Palace. Okay, where could it be? Going to Ice Palace. I actually wanted to go into Ice Palace, and then I got the mushroom, and I was like, okay, I can make a King's Tomb route. And yeah, it paid off, thankfully.
Oh nice. Yeah, I got the flippers, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna go go up and do Lake Hylia, Waterfall of Wishing, but I just got boots. I should do Bonk Rocks and King's Tomb while I'm up there, and just get that out of the way. Oh, hookshot, go mode, nice.
Yeah, that was again, like, I think you guys might enjoy kind of that part of the rewatch. But yeah, you were making your way again, and then you found the mushroom, and then just kind of part of that that thorough play. You're like, well, I got the mushroom, I'm gonna go turn the mushroom, and then you kind of, well, I got the boots, and then you went from there. So it skewed you away from there, and then at the same time Tief went from the opposite direction, and then you both got to King's Tomb at almost the same time again. So it's just like, yeah, it's very fun, and very, very good that you guys didn't dip that red crystal Ice Palace. Very tempting, but got to Goma instead.
It's really, really nice to just go mode Swamp and Ice Palace.
Oh yes, oh yes.
Even if you fail the bomb jump in Ice Palace like 5 times in a row. Gosh, that was embarrassing. I don't know what's going on. I think I forgot that you needed like 1 pixel of floor tile in between the bomb shadow and the sword. I just wasn't lining it up right.
Yeah, it can happen. And then, especially on a trick or a situation like that, you kind of get into the vortex. It's like you probably would have gotten it first try, but now that you messed it up, you have to mess it up a few more times. It's the same for like the Ganon fight. oh, again, it's fine. But then when you mess it up, all of a sudden, it just spirals, and so on and so forth for other things too. But yeah.
It killed me when. Okay, so I got the bomb jump. I make my way down. I'm just like, okay. Then I somehow got knocked into the pit. And I had to do the bomb jump again.
Oh.
Yeah. I tapped the walls a couple of times in frustration.
I forgot about that. Yeah, it was unfortunate. It was like
It was
victory. No.
I'm still laughing.
Was a good race. Was a very good race. I have to rewatch that.
Yeah, that's probably gonna be a really good watch. And at the very least, I enjoyed myself.
Oh yes, was a very good race.
Yeah, definitely. Like, I mean, you two exchanged the lead multiple times, so I think it will be a really fun rewatch in that regard. And it was very entertaining for us too. So, just very glad I got to commentate with that.
Nice, thank you. So my quest for 07 continues. I got this.
I tried my best for that.
Yeah, I won this day. I'm gonna get 07.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Trenter, but unfortunately, your 07, run kind of comes to an end. My condolences. I only
My
think
condolences.
only 2 or 4 people I think can get it. Had a real shot. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, I'm actually sad, but hey, at least the chat could watch Aghanim, and I hope they are happy, even though Pedestal was not in that seed.
Oh man, I was thinking that pedestal. I was like, oh, could pedestal actually be required this seed? I was running out of places to check, and it was just, I wanted to do Helmasaur so bad, but I was disappointed when it was just a model.
Yeah.
Yeah, the scene was kind of pointing that way when you think about it. It's just like so linear, and then you're wondering, oh, where do I go next?
Yeah, it was only always like 1 or 2 options, and all did still go into one direction. And till we had Death Mountain Axis, that was quite a while.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I guess I'll ask if there's anything you two would like to kind of sum up with. Any musing on the siege or any final words?
The things I practiced, I did well. There was a lot of things I didn't practice, and they kind of showed. So there's a couple things I need to work on, I think. Other than that, though, I had fun.
It was a great race, indeed. It was a very great race, and yeah, next time I check Agina first. I remember that.
Did Agina even have anything though?
The book.
Oh, the book, right. But I didn't have the lamp at that time, or mitts, so it's like couldn't finish it either way.
Yeah, I did Aghanim before I did Agina, so yeah. When you
I
find
put
the
off
book
Aghanim.
after that, your heart stops for 2 seconds.
Yeah, he had more items, so when he got the book, Desert looked more appealing, and of course the Sphere one lantern. The Sphere one just having a lot of stuff in general, so it kind of makes like those early gambles a little bit more dicey, but then late game they definitely get more appealing. But yeah, it was again it was a very fun watch, a very good time.
Yeah, the only thing I noticed with this seed, I have no idea who the creator was, but I have the feeling that's Bomberman, because there were a lot of bomb drops outside.
I mean, is that a bad thing?
Yes, my last seed actually had none, and I couldn't even do escape. I couldn't do back of the escape, and I was like, okay. And then this time, I have not counted correctly, but I think around 200 drops in total. Was insane.
Wow. But yeah, so I guess to kind of, unless my co-commentator here has anything he wants to chime in with, I think we're pretty much ready to wrap up here.
Nope. Just want to thank everybody for having me commentate my very first race here. So thank you all.
Yeah, congratulations on that. It's definitely a lot of fun. I liked your puns.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Sorry, I kind of said that maybe sarcastic sounding. I actually did enjoy them. I guess to clarify, but yeah, no, it was a lot of fun. Certainly. So for my part, I want to say, thank you to the runners. Thank you for letting us commentate your race. Thank you to my co-commentator for joining me. It was definitely a lot of fun. And thank you to our tracker and our race streamer. Make sure that you give them a follow. You see our names on the screen, but really they have the more thankless job. So make sure you show them a lot of love and support because, their job isn't, not necessarily the funnest at times, but definitely make sure to show the appreciation. And of course, thank you to everyone that helped put everything together. For my part, I've been Gazelle Chef, and thank you.
I'm Sir UX, signing off.
Bye.